Okay, here's my latest status. I have basically I just used a piece of 1x, probably a 1x10, and then I scabbed a piece to the side of it to make it the right width to fill that whole cavity where I had to rotten wood. Now on the back edge towards the cabinet it doesn't match, it's not level, but it's not really an issue because all of this is underneath of the cabinet that it rides back and forth as part of the slide. So I don't think it's going to be a problem whatsoever. So got that in there. I still can put a piece of Luan on top of it when I put the flooring in there. I've gone back now and I've put a piece of, actually what I have is pressure treated 1x, cut down to the 1.5 wide is what the previous one was. Put that in place all the way down through here. And the next board will be the replacement for this one that's wiggling. It's the one that holds the rollers. And that lays on top of that one that I've screwed into this aluminum plate. Of course, it's on the bottom sill. I'm going to go with a narrower board. This board here is not exactly sure how wide it is, but it's, if you notice, that its only purpose in life is to hold those rollers. And a 6-inch board, 5.5 inches wide, is more than wide enough to hold that roller. So I'm going to notch another one of these 1x pressure treated. They're basically fencing pickets, pine, solid wood, and I'm going to fit it up with that and screw that to the top of this sill board that's screwed to the aluminum. And I think we should be good to go with that. And then we go on to the next step. Here's an update. Working on this some more, and the roller rests over here, and before it was basically resting on a bridge that went across this over to another piece of ply that went up there with nothing solid underneath. Well, the space underneath, if I reduce it a little bit, is exactly 3.5 inches from the interior wall. So, and the mounts for these are roughly somewhere in this location. So I'm just going to put a 4x4 or 3.5 by 3.5 inch pressure treated, won't rot, with a spacer on top to make up the 4 inches I need, because that's the height is 4 inches, and that's the way it originally was. And with a piece of pretty thin plywood here, it's a little shy of a 1/2 inch, so it allows for a flush, so the board will lay on top of here flush to ties it all together. So I'm thinking this is going to work better. And on the other side, I think I'm going to put probably a longer piece 4x4. I'm going to extend the 4x4 all the way down to the corner to distribute the weight out quite a bit. So I think it's going to work out better. Put a little bit of video a little later on. Okay, I got the 4x4 mounted underneath of this plate, and extends both sides of that roller. And the board that the roller used to be on is laying right here. You can see the mounts where the rusty was, where the mounts rusted on there. Now I'm not sure if you can tell from this video, I had that bellied out real bad. The weight of the slide out just pushing down the center of this plywood. The only thing it was supported on the right side is basically a piece of 1/2 inch plywood stood on its edge. There's no support actually under the roller for this heavy slide out. So I'm thinking that 4x4 will make a considerable difference in that regard. And as I work my way back around, try to make it not too dizzy. I don't know what you can see, that I bellied that out. And this is also on the back side, that's where they ended the board, and they spliced in a board beyond that. I just have a hard time imagining Newmar doing something like that. I guess they might have, I don't know, but I know it was a gazillion staples in it. That's probably a pretty good image of the bellying out. So I made a measurement. I got my mark from a measurement. I'm extending the board all the way to the wall, and the 4x4 goes all the way to where that cutout is, where I had to notch it. And the 4x4 extends way on down through here. You can see that. And I had to put of course I had to shim on top with a piece of the the same half-inch plywood I'd used on the other side, and to make up the distance of 4 inches. So I'm pretty pleased with this so far. God, I hope this slide out rides on these rollers in the right spot. I won't find that out until tomorrow, hopefully, when I go get some plywood. I'm going to mount some rollers now, and probably put the board on the inside and try to clean up some. I don't know that how much. Well, I have to put my trim and my guard back on the outside, of course. Then I have to put the gasket in that goes across the bottom. I'm gonna look at Home Depot tomorrow. Hopefully they have a piece of that, because mine's kind of rough shape. I doubt if they do, though. Okay, putting this together here, I was noticing that my plywood's got to come all the way out to here to capture this roller from this wall, slide out wall. So when the slide out's in the completely out position, the plywood here is, this little part right here is supporting all the weight of the slide, other than the carrier, in the center is carrying the weight. But out here, I guess maybe the carrier in the center is intended to carry all the weight. And that's probably true when that's extended all the way out. But also some weight's being carried by those rollers on the end. Imagine that. I'll know tomorrow when I put the plywood in, and hopefully after I get the plywood in, I'll be able to find out how well this slides in and out. And we're getting like 50-mile-an-hour winds tonight in my little, well, it's a building that this thing's in. And my barn doors, rolling doors, are not really secured at the bottom, other than by an air compressor and a generator. They do a fine job. And you see them, they're rocking pretty good. So hopefully everything will still be here in the morning. Here I am another day. And this is the original bottom to the slide out. That fabric is specific use for RVs and bottom of trailers and stuff. It's waterproof. It's kind of like it's almost, well, it's a whole lot like a canvas or blue tarp, except for it's black. And I couldn't find a black tarp. Not that I really wanted to. That white thing is a spacer. Someone had put it in the back. It put it in there previously to add some space to the, to kick the slide out up some. And there was one on both sides. And that didn't work so good, because you can see the rot. There wasn't nothing there to push up against. So, plus the roller wheel was bad too. So in lieu of the black stuff, I happen to have some aluminum, and I think this is also used on RVs. Some years ago, somebody gave me 2 or 3 sheets of this, and it's basically a piece of 16th inch aluminum. Well, I'm going to laminate it together. That base there, that bottom, is actually 2 half-inch laminated, 2 half-inch pieces of plywood laminated together, glued and nailed. And I don't have the staples they use, so I built mine here, and I got 30 screws in mine, and 2 tubes of liquid nails, smeared well with a glove so that it had a good coverage, and then put on the flat floor and screwed down as hard as I could. It's a little bit lopsided, but the bow is up, so which means that when the weight's put on it, it should flatten out. I'm pretty sure it'll flatten out. And for the slide is pretty heavy. So my next step is to flip this thing over and secure that aluminum to the bottom of it with some screws, and put some liquid nails in that too, but it's not going to go anywhere. The screws, a dozen screws or so, hold it well. I just got to pre-drill those holes and to do a nice job. And I won't be anything like that. That piece over there is what will be seen under the slide out when I completed it. So, and as a side note, here's our other project I got going on. Oh, here's something else I'm going to do along the edges. This is a window seal which you put around windows. It's really sticky stuff. I'm going to take this and go around the edges that are exposed to the outside, because water can wick down. I was looking at that yesterday. The water can wick down if it gets behind a seal and actually get into the edge of the wood, where it wick inside the wood. So to stop that, I'm going to put the black stuff around the edges before I put the aluminum on, and that should help that problem. Well, here's my other project. I'm putting a TDI diesel in a 94 Toyota T100. Working the wiring right now, just as time permits, trying to make it as factory looking as possible. And this is a four-wheel drive Toyota T100 that I bought. Needed an engine badly, wouldn't start and run, lots of oil in the wrong places. So I worked my way through this. Got the Volkswagen radiator, I got the Volkswagen engine in, an adapter plate, and working the wiring now, and got all my accessory mounts and belts rigged up, so I can use almost all the Volkswagen components with the exception of the Toyota air conditioner. Gotta have air conditioner. So hoping this will work out well. Got some things I'm concerned about, but not overly. And in case anybody knows anything about TDIs, you'll notice that the turbo actuator is upside down. I had to make a special adapter for that, so it'll work in that angle. Okie doke, working my way on this. Any luck, I'll get back there in the building and give it a fit. Okay, this is what I was talking about, sealing the edges. The inside edge is not as important because that's inside the camper. It doesn't get wet. This outside edge is basically tucked up behind the pylon, but there's still a good chance the water can get to it. So I put protector wrap, get it from Home Depot. Basically Lowe's has got something similar. The Lowe's is just tape, and it's sticky as crap. This is pretty sticky, but it's nowhere sticky as the Lowe's. But anyway, it looked like it works real well. The reason I went this because Home Depot is closer here. So this is about ready. Now what I'm going to do is attach the aluminum to the bottom, which just is you're looking at the bottom, and when that's attached, it's be good to go inside the RV. And I got to take a look at that and get it prepared to receive this, because I got a lot of work in there to do yet too. All right, this is the next, what it looks like with the aluminum on the outside of the floor for the slide out. I put screws along this edge here because those will not hit the gasket. And I glued it down with liquid nails and walked on it a little bit so it gets some adhesion. I don't think I'm going to have a bow problem, because when this goes up, the floor actually rests along the edges on the bottom, of course, the other side, but I'll be putting screws around the outside edges up into the aluminum, and then there's be 4 holes in this from where the slide out mechanism attaches. So I got those to mark yet before I put that in the coach, but it's I'm sure it's probably a little bit heavier than what the original was. Probably not a lot though. That aluminum is not that terribly heavy. So, and it won't be black, but you know, oh well. I think it's probably a little bit better than what I had. And I'll go ahead and show you something I found on the other end. Okay, this is what I found on this is the sweep that goes underneath of the slide out, keeps, you know, critters from crawling underneath your bed. And an air seal. And mine's torn in several places, but I learned that I can replace that later, so I'm not overly concerned with it. But one thing I noticed is I don't really like how it's done. Is if you got how this is assembled is this is 2 pieces. It's basically a piece of plywood cut small that rests in here, and then this part, the seal, has screws. Well, you can see the holes here, and they go down, and this is so you can replace this. You just have to pull that gasket back that seals against this extruded aluminum when that's pushed up. And so they put this piece of angle of aluminum on top of a piece of plywood that's attached to the nailed down through this thin aluminum. And I guess I don't know whether it's cosmetic or whether it was intended to have a purpose or not. Let me pull this apart. Screw to the aluminum. I know you're gonna get dizzy watching. Didn't think about that till later on. Anyway, you got the outside of the pylon, and then there's a wood backer, but this is a hung side, so it's not like it's going to fly apart. And then here's this piece of aluminum, cheap, aluminum that shields this. But if water were to get down in here, it's going to go right down in between here and rot this out. Now, it obviously hadn't done that because the slide out is usually covering this. It's not a big deal. But I'm thinking the purpose of this aluminum is minimal at best. So what I plan on doing is using some of that same stuff I bought you put on window trim and do away with this altogether and start that rubberized window treatment and go in here to here and catch this and go as far as it'll go. Well, I'm going to put the a half-inch board that the track goes onto, and in fact I'm going to make it 2 inches wide, and seal this up from here all the way up so water can't get into this space, and make it a little bit more airtight or watertight. And then it'll seal the screws as the screws are shot in to hold the screw to the aluminum in. It is, of course, that acts like a gasket. So I'm hoping this is going to work out all right. I'll wire brush this and put that tape all the way from one end to the other, and I'm thinking that might make a difference in the future. I don't want to take this thing apart again. Okay, here's where I've stopped just to take a short video. I basically had to use a laminate 2 1/4 inch, or I don't know what they are, but anyway, to make up the distance that the prior piece that went through here. Anyway, I had to laminate them together, or basically stick them together, and then I screwed them down. And then of course there'll be screws along this edge when I attach the aluminum L channel that goes here. But here's where I put that wrap stuff that you can get from Home Depot or Lowe's. They're meant to go around your windows and stuff to weatherproof. And I tuck that in there as good as I can. It goes all the way around. So basically, any moisture that happens to make it past that gasket will go down and go out underneath of the trim that goes around here. Now, there's another thing I dislike, and I know why it's there, because it's attractive. It's a joint, but all this RTV silicone. For that, think about it. Any moisture gets in here, it won't get out because if it's siliconed at the bottom. So I won't be putting silicone on the bottom of this joint. So if a lot of moisture come out, if any moisture gets on this, it'll trickle out and come to the outside of the coach instead of soaking into the wood. There's a lot of places on a coach that silicone's used, and you have to it's only there to make it attractive. It's not there for the function. If you think about the function, it actually creates rot. More problems it's worth. In most places it's in good place, but this here, I think this fellow happened across a pretty good idea here, and I'm going to go across all this seam all the way across with this. Do it in short sections to manage this tape, and butt it up, and if I get a little bit of a gap, oh well. But I'm going to do that all the way across, and then I'll come with my channel through here, L channel. When that L channel's in place, this will sit, when it's screwed up tight, the L channel actually holds this together. So looking forward to getting that done and get a little bit further down the road here.